Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's session 3 of the Business Analyst series. I'm Diana Gray. I'm the Community Marketing Manager for the Americas. And we have Christina on the call today, who's the Global Manager for the Marketing Community. Manjula, who's the founder of The Next Innings. We have Mukesh, who's a RPA Manager at Boundaryless. And we also have a Swathi, who works in our UiPath Academic Alliance program. So again, today starts session 5, week 3, which is happening now. The recordings for the first 4 sessions are already posted, and you can find those on our YouTube channel. And we have another session this week on Wednesday, and then 2 next week to cover the rest of the product. So if you have any questions about that, you can always put them on the forum. So our speakers today are Devyani Sharma, who's a senior RPA business analyst from Boundaryless Automation. And we have Christian Ventriliga, who's the automation solution architect from FanDuel. And he's also a UiPath MVP. And then we also have Dan Fishkin, who is a solution architect from Tapestry and also a UiPath MVP. So today we will cover task capture, and that we'll also be doing this week the deep dive and task capture. But what I wanted to let you know is that we'll be doing presentations today. There'll be some use cases on Wednesday, and then also on Wednesday we'll have our Menti quiz at the end of the session. So you can find all this information on your series pages. And then I also just wanted to talk about this one more time. This is for people who weren't able to join last week, but I just want to mention it, that following our business analyst series, there will be a certification opportunity. What they recommend, in addition to taking the current learning path that we're bringing you down, is to take the UiPath Document Understanding Overview course and the Communication Mining Overview course in order to make sure that you have all the information you need to actually sit for the certification exam. And then they also would like to send out a knowledge check on the business analyst material as soon as the series ends, and they will score the knowledge checks and award the top 25% with a 50% off certification voucher. Okay, and with that, I'm going to turn it over now to Christina and to Devyani and Kristen.
Hey everybody, let me go ahead and share my screen and I will get into my presentation. All right, so first things first, just want to make sure that everyone can see my screen, the big screen right over here. Cool, great. All right, so welcome to the Business Analyst Series 2023 by UiPath Community and the Next Innings. And so today we're going to be talking about UiPath Task Capture overview. So an overview on the product, an introduction to what it is, how it works, who might use it, and some of the features. And then we will be, then later on, Devyani will be stepping into a bit more of a deeper dive with some hands-on exercises, as well as use cases that you can actually see some real scenarios. So let's talk about the agenda for my presentation first. So the first thing we'll be describing UiPath Task Capture and its purpose. So basically, what is the tool? We'll identify the prerequisites, install, and activate Task Capture. So I'll go through actually how to navigate to the UiPath Task Capture website, do the registration, and walk through the steps of actually obtaining the installer, and then walking through, I won't actually walk through the installation, but you can see the steps that'll be necessary for getting the product installed. And then I'll provide an overview on the 2 methods of creating process documentation in Task Capture. I'll explain that in more detail later, but basically there's the manual path, which is for us to build a diagram. And then there's capturing the process automatically. And typically we'll use a hybrid approach of the two of those. I'll also identify the main capabilities of Task Capture. And then, as I mentioned, we'll use Task Capture to record some business process steps. So I'll show you a simple overview on how to get to that point. And then, as I mentioned, Devyani will step into some more specific use cases. It goes to the next slide. There we go. So a quick introduction for myself. So my name is Christian Ventriglia, as mentioned. I'm an automation solutions architect at FanDuel. I started at my previous company as an intern and spent 11 years there working as an IT professional, 5 of those years, which was in business intelligence, using a tool called ClickView to build visualizations and data analysis type of work. And then the remaining 6 years I spent as an RPA consultant, / solution architect, wore a lot of different hats in that role. Currently, as I mentioned, I'm a solution architect at FanDuel, and in my free time, I enjoy spending time outdoors with my girlfriend, hiking, fishing, doing anything out in the sun, or sometimes just relaxing, watching movies, and playing with our cat Dino. I enjoy all different types of music, and I can play bass, guitar, and some keyboard. And I'm also a big fan of the New York Rangers hockey team and love watching hockey. So just a little bit about myself. So let's talk about Task Capture. So UiPath Task Capture is a process discovery tool that helps you dive into automation ideas, enabling you to quickly capture, enhance, and accelerate the automation by sharing the specifics of your work. So this is a tool that's used during the analysis phase of the RPA lifecycle. So if you think of the RPA lifecycle in terms of all the way from ideation to throughout deployment and hypercare, Task Capture is a tool that'll fall in the analysis phase. So we would use that for analysis tasks. And so normally Task Capture is used to document the as-is process so that RPA developers can then take the output from Task Capture and work on building the automated process. So typically, once you identify a potential automation candidate within Automation Hub, you would then use Task Capture to provide the expertise about the particular task and help you speed up the automation process. And so there are a number of different users that actually use Task Capture and how they collaborate with one another to generate the output. And then for the later product, which is actually building the automation, we can talk about who uses Task Capture. So the people who use Task Capture can vary from business users and SMEs to COE members and RPA developers. And that's because they all have different reasons for using Task Capture. So you can think of business users and SMEs almost as a liaison to the COE members and the RPA developers. Basically, those are the users who are going to document the business processes. They'll share all of their expertise that they have with the process in the actual capture to facilitate a meaningful document that really captures what we're looking to automate, the as-is process. And then COE members might work with business users or SMEs to then document the process as it currently exists prior to automating so that they can hand off the documented process to RPA developers who would then use that process, that documented process, to actually implement the solution. So there's a little bit of a chain of passing throughout between different roles. And so all those roles work together ultimately to yield a product that or output that could be then be used to work on building the automated solution. So what are the key features of Task Capture? So the first key feature is to capture automatically every single detail of your process with just a few clicks. And that's literally clicking through the process just the same way that you would execute it normally. And in the background, the tool is actually taking screenshots, recording your specific clicks, recording what you're clicking on. And then you can also add action titles and descriptions to each of your actions that you're executing to give a more specific context to what is actually being captured. You can edit your process map by adding business rules and process variations using a powerful proprietary workflow editor. So the Task Capture tool has an editor that is very similar to some other flow charting tools that you might have seen in the past. It's got a lot built into it. You can kind of drag and drop different shapes and build out your flow as you imagine it, and then you can use the capture feature to populate that diagram with the specifics of each of those actions. We can edit screenshots with the built-in image editor, so the image editor is quite powerful. And a really cool feature that is built into Task Capture as well is the integrated OCR technology. So what we're able to do is we can actually go ahead and we can lasso around a particular portion of a screenshot, and we can say recognize. There's a recognize button, and what that'll do is it'll use OCR to actually recognize the text in the screenshot. So that's really valuable for when you're capturing any different menu items, or if there's specific details on the screen that you want to capture the text from explicitly. You can use that feature to use the integrated OCR to actually grab that text from the image. And then the two big things that Task Capture does is it provides a means to export the generated process map. And one of those means is exporting the process map as using a PDD template. And Task Capture comes with some pre-built templates that we're able to utilize. And then you're also able to build custom templates that you can then have be populated with your own specific, branding, logos, whatever that might look like, colors, things like that. And Devyani will speak a little bit more about that later on. But that's one of the really nice features is that theoretically, the idea is that we can use Task Capture to walk through documenting the process and then have it export into our own. We could have it export into our own branded PDD document that's ready to be handed off to an RPA developer or a COE member who would then take that and then go ahead and use that to build the next phase, which would be like solution design or actually doing the implementation. And then another really cool feature about the exports is in addition to being able to export a PDD document, we can also export a skeleton. And when I say a skeleton, it's because it's mostly the bones of a UiPath Studio project or UiPath Studio X project. And so obviously Studio X would be more oriented for citizen developers, whereas Studio would be for a professional developer. But we're able to export the process map that we built inside of Task Capture. So the flow chart, basically, we're able to take that and export it into a UiPath project. So now we don't just have, a flow chart that explicitly states how the process works. We have a solution, or rather a project in Studio that kind of details that same flow that's documented in the capture. So we can use that then as a great starting point to go ahead and get started with the actual development. So the simplicity of the app makes it easy to bridge the gap between business users and members of the COE team. So now business users can work in unison with members of the COE team because the tool is so easy to use that business users can kind of take the first initial attempt at documenting the process because they're the experts ultimately. They're the ones who do the process day to day on a daily basis. So they're the ones who are going to be able to provide the most context. And so this tool allows for unison kind of simultaneous work being done both by the business users, and then subject matter experts might enhance that document with some more explicit specifics that are necessary to the process. And we can eliminate the manual work by automatically capturing screenshots, details, and metrics about the process. I think it captures things like how long it takes to click, things, or how long between screenshots, things of that nature. And later automatically export those, as I mentioned, into formats such as documentation or even studio skeletons. And the nice thing is it's a perfect fit for either a top-down approach or a bottom-up approach. So I know most of us are familiar with the top-up approach where we're working with stakeholders who might say, okay, well, I want to automate process A because that's going to have the highest ROI. It's also that top-up approach is what we're kind of used to, but this tool is actually very beneficial for a bottom-up approach for folks like citizen developers or just plain old business users who are out in the field and who are dealing with these tasks on a daily basis. And so, they can kind of document the tool and show or document the process and show why it would be beneficial to be automated. So it really allows for that, both that top down and that bottom up approach. So there's a lot of flexibility with the tool. So how do we actually get Task Capture installed and ready to use? So it's really, really simple actually. So the first thing that we do is we open the UiPath Task Capture webpage, and I'll navigate to that right here, and I'll actually go through some of the steps. So you can see here that there's a simple form that we need to fill out to be able to receive the email with the installer. So I'll just go ahead and fill out that form. So just things like first name, last name, business email. And then I'm just going to go ahead and put United States. And as I'm going through this, it's worth mentioning too, if you already have UiPath Assistant installed, you're actually able to install directly from UiPath Assistant as well. So if you already have that, that piece of software installed already, you can install Task Capture directly from Assistant. And I can show you that a little bit later as well. But right now, I'm just going to walk you through the steps for doing it this way. And I'll just leave phone number blank because it's not required. And then I'm going to go ahead and click register. So you'll see now that it's taking us to this page that says, thank you, check your email for a download link. So now we're waiting for the actual, the link for the download to arrive in our email. And so I'm just going to check my email real quick and see if it's there. If not, I already have the tool installed, so it's not a tremendous deal. I wasn't sure if it would be complete in time or if it would send in time. Yeah, and it looks like I still haven't received it. So let me go ahead and just jump back to the PowerPoint.
Hey, Christian, just to interrupt you just for a second, can you turn up the volume on your voice?
Yeah, I can certainly try.
Thanks.
And I'll speak a little bit louder too. Is that any better, Tiana? Are you guys able to hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's basically just the volume for input for the mic.
Okay. Yeah, I have it turned all the way up.
It's okay, I think.
Okay. I'll just talk really loud, and then that way everybody will be able to hear me. Okay, so, well, that actually worked out perfectly because now I've received the email actually with the download, the installer. So if we look over here, you can see that I received an email with the installer for both the 64-bit and the 32-bit. And so in this case, I would use the Task Capture 64-bit. And then if we jump back to the actual PowerPoint presentation, we can see that the next steps are after we've obtained the installer to actually run the exe file, click on the I agree to start the installation. And then it's a very quick install. It typically takes a few minutes just to get everything set up and ready to go. And then after the installation is complete, Task Capture is almost ready for use. There's one other detail that we have to cover after we've completed the installation. So once we actually complete the installation and open Task Capture for the first time, we'll be faced with a menu screen that has 3 different options. And these 3 different options are different ways for activating Task Capture. So the first option is to sign into a UiPath cloud account. So that's the method that we would choose if we already have a license assigned in UiPath Automation Cloud. So this option provides a consistent user experience similar to what you've experienced before signing into UiPath Automation Cloud for other, for say, example, Studio. So it's pretty straightforward. We can also manually add the license key, which is another option. And there are 2 ways to do that. So there's the automatic activation, and that automatic activation is for when we have an internet connection. And then the manual activation is for when we don't have an internet connection. So if we have a machine that's, turned off from the internet, or if it has specific firewall or security rules in place that would prevent us from reaching out to the license validation servers, we could use this manual activation. And the UI of the application will walk you through those steps to achieve either of those activations. And then finally is the community license activation, and that's the most simple one. And so for folks who are not using the enterprise license, they would use the community license to activate the tool. This does require the internet because obviously it reaches out to the license validation server to go ahead and get the activation squared away. So those are the three methods for activating task capture. And then once you're actually activated, now you're ready to use the tool. The tool's ready to go, and we're able to start documenting processes, start capturing. So how to use task capture. So as I mentioned previously, there's two primary methods for how we build process flows within the tool task capture. We build diagrams, and this is a more manual method. This is similar to what you might have seen before in something like Lucidchart or Visio or things of that nature. Basically, there's a variety of different shapes, and we drag and drop and build a flowchart accordingly. We also have more sophisticated objects such as swim lanes, and then there are also BPMN objects for to comply with that. But when we're building a diagram, this method is recommended when we know the high-level process already. So if we already know the process that we're looking to document, we're going to want to use the build diagram. Or if we want to create a workflow diagram first and fill it with the captured actions, that's that kind of that hybrid approach that I had mentioned previously. Because basically what we would do is we would build the flow chart using the diagramming tool. And then once we've built out the flow chart, we could then populate the specifics of the flow chart using the capture process piece of the tool. And so that's that hybrid approach. But then we'll also want to use build diagram whenever there's complex branching scenarios. So if the process isn't linear and straightforward, it's easier to build the diagram first and then populate using the capture, the tools to capture things automatically. So if it's a linear process or something more straightforward, then we can use the capture process right out of the gate. So we can use the capture process. Basically, it's recommended when we want to automatically record the whole process step by step, as I mentioned, in a linear fashion. And the process is straightforward and doesn't include many actions or branching scenarios. It's just easier to accommodate those branching scenarios in the build diagram and kind of chart those out the way that we see fit. And then from there, then kind of move on to using the capture process to enter the specifics of each of those diagram pieces. So I wanted to go through some of the screenshots basically. So when we first open the tool Task Capture after the installation and activation, we're going to see this screen here. And this screen is basically the main menu. You can see there's some menu options off to the left here. Devyani will speak a little bit more in specifics about those later on. There's settings that we can set things up for how we want to capture things. It's also for where we can set up different branding, things of that nature. But if we want to get started and document a new process, we'd simply click on this button, new document right here, highlighted in yellow. And once we click on the new document button, what's going to happen is we're going to be faced with this next screen. And on this next screen, this is where we can decide those two different methods for capturing the process that I've previously described, which is the build diagram and the capture process. So we'll start with the build diagram first. So if we click on the build diagram, what that's going to do is it's going to take us to this editor. And here you can see we have a start and an empty sequence. And off to the left, we have the options to select the different shapes and things of that nature for how we want to diagram our sequence out. And so this is where we would drag and drop things like rectangles or decision diamonds, and then even swim lanes to make it more specific, or any of those BPMN shapes. So this is the editor that we would use for dragging and dropping. But if we were to press capture process instead of build diagram, that'll take us down a little bit of a different path. So rather than jumping right into the diagram editor, what that's going to do is it's going to bring us to a new screen. And one of the first things it's going to ask, and you can change this option so that it doesn't show it in the future. And this is a setting that can be applied directly in the settings in the main menu. But if you don't do that, it'll prompt you when you first start. And so, like I said, we can turn that off so it doesn't prompt us every single time. But then basically what this is asking us is the capturing quality mode. And so we can have that set to low, medium, or high, and it kind of depends on what you're looking to achieve. If you're looking to achieve, excuse me. If you're looking to achieve a skeleton, a lot of times it's best to go with medium or high, and that does require some of the extensions being installed, such as Chrome, the Java extension, and some of those other extensions. What that's going to do is it's going to give you more specific selectors. So when it outputs that actual skeleton, there'll be more meaningful selectors inside of there. And so rather than having just some bare bones studio project that then needs to, you need to re-indicate every element and kind of do that, going with the medium and the high capturing quality mode is going to lend to a better skeleton. And then low is good for when we're looking just to simply capture, maybe we're not looking to capture a skeleton, but perhaps just an image. Maybe we just want to build a flow chart or something simple like that. Then low is more acceptable for that scenario. But once we choose the capturing quality mode, we can then proceed. And what's going to happen is, and this is just my desktop with these lovely deers there, but what you can see is that we receive a screen that says, this is the start capture screen. And so this little window is going to kind of live on the screen as you capture the process. So once we go ahead and press start capture, that's then going to turn into this capturing is on window. And in this screen, we have the option to pause and to stop at any time. So if we need to stop, let's say you're capturing a task and then all of a sudden you're faced with a priority 1 ticket that needs to be solved, we can stop and then move on, do some other work, come back to the task capture. We can also pause in between capturing, which is very nice because as you can see here, there's a field for action title as well as action description. And so it's very valuable when you're actually doing the documentation and capturing the flow to include action titles and action descriptions. So for example, let's say I open Chrome. I might make that my action title. And then in the description, I might put in something specific, open Chrome and navigate to rpachallenge.com or something like that. The specifics of what is actually happening in the screenshot. So you can think of the title as simply the title and the description as the specifics to what we're looking to document in the screenshot itself. So what we would do then from here is once the capturing is on, we would click through the different pieces of the process just as you were if you were executing it manually. And as you click through each different piece of the process, Task Capture all the while is kind of capturing screenshots and capturing those clicks or type intos and all of those things. And what ultimately gets generated then is something that looks like this. And so you can see here we have a simple linear flow. And in fact, funnily enough, this is actually the flow for when I was taking screenshots of the Task Capture tool itself. So that's all that's being documented here is how to take screenshots and enter them into PowerPoint. But you can see that there's the screen snipping, then I'm entering that screen snipping into the Task Capture. There's an additional sequence here where I probably should have provided a more specific action title. And then again, pasting into PowerPoint, et cetera. So this is the output then from our generated capture. And you can see off to the right. So for example, in this screenshot, I have this sequence highlighted. So when you have a sequence highlighted, then you can see the actual specifics of that sequence inside of these actions over here in the right-hand pane. So that kind of wraps up the overview. And like I mentioned, Devyani is going to take over next and kind of go into a deeper dive for what I've talked about a little bit here. But before we go into that, is there any questions, anything that I can answer?
Kristen, thank you so much. I have a question if you don't mind.
Sure.
I'd love to, I got the demo, but if you could give a specific example and help us with the demo, that will be great, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mahesh, I'm going to hand it over to Devyani, and she's going to actually go ahead and do some hands-on examples. So I think that to answer your question, I think that's going to come up in the next portion of the of the presentation. So if you have any questions after Devyani's portion that didn't get answered, please feel free to just put them in the chat or to chime in and ask them. But Devyani's going to go ahead and do some demonstrations that you'll actually get to see some hands-on examples.
Thank you so much.
Any other more generic questions? Okay. Well, then without further ado, Devyani, if you want to go ahead and steal the share and go ahead and get started with your portion where we can maybe see some hands-on examples, I think that would be great for the group.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much, Christian, for your wonderful presentation. So let me start with a quick introduction of myself. So hello, everyone. I am Devyani. I am RPA a business analyst, but currently supporting one of the client as a RPA manager. I have a good experience, IT experience for now 11 years. And for RPA, I have experience for now 4 years. I started my career as a developer, core developer, front end, back end, and then moved my career to RPA. So I have a good knowledge, technical knowledge, and that actually helped me to build up my career as an analyst and now progressing as a RP manager as well. So that's a quick introduction about myself. Now, let me quickly share my screen to continue. Okay, so please confirm if you can see my screen and also if my voice is loud and clear.
It sounds good, Devyani, and I can see your screen.
Great. Okay. So a very quick recap on what we just saw, that our task capture has 2 options available to capture the process. First is build the diagram, and second one is capture the process. So the first one, build diagram, is suitable for hold on. Yeah, sorry, there is one small mistake here. Actually, the build diagram is the one which is more suitable for the complex process. The titles has been mixed up here. Apologies for that. So build diagram is best suitable for the complex processes which have multiple decision making. So what we need to do here is to define the flow, the structure of the flow first, and start capturing one by one the task, each step by step the task we have defined in that flow. So there are different shapes that are available in our task capture through which we can build the meaningful workflow. On the other hand, capture process is best suitable for the linear and simple process, through which we can automatically captures the action, whatever event we perform in our screen, in our desktop. It captures automatically everything from clicks to type to navigation, everything. So there are currently, we are having 2 capturing modes that are available. Detailed, high level, and one also we saw that Christian described, which was low. So we'll go into the detail now, and I am trying to go to my next slide. Okay, let me stop share and try again. Okay, so this is our first use case to cover the capture the process using the recorder. So in this use case, it's a very, very simple use case, and we will have a live demo on this one. Here, what we have is we have this website called rpasample.com through which we can create the unicorn name. So what we need to do is we simply need to enter the name and the month. We need to select from the drop down and then click on this get unicorn name. And we have this Excel sheet, and what we need to do is one by one, we need to copy the name and the birth month from here, go back to the web site and generate the unicorn name, get the unicorn name from there and paste in the unicorn name section, as we can see here. So it's a very simple and straightforward process. And what we need to do is we need to capture using the task capture recorder. Okay. So before moving into the live demo, let's quickly recap what we discussed. So we have two options, build diagram and capture the process. So what we are going to do is right now going to see how capture the process, this option works. Okay, so for that, we will click on this button, we will get our recorder, and then this will be our capturing screen. And we'll see how we can use it. We have a pause button, stop, and the screen, as we can see here, this is the action screen, which will take the screenshot along with the title, which we will give, and the description. Here we can also see the limit. So in our currently, if we are going with the community version, we have the limit of capturing of 500 screens or the events. While I think in the enterprise version, it contains more features. So by default, our task capture generates the screenshot for every action you perform, every mouse click, inputs, hotkeys, whatever event that you perform, that will be captured. If you want to specify your your own settings, we can do it using the capturing settings in the capture in the settings page. So how we can do it and where we can do it, we will see it. We'll see. So it is available in the settings section, as we can see. We need to go to the settings. There we have we need to select the capturing option. Okay, and here we have the three tabs available, three options available, giving us the different settings through which we can do this different settings for our capturing. So let us now explore more on these options. So let me now share my complete screen where we will go through the settings as well as the demo as well. So complete screen, share. I hope you can see my desktop now.
Yeah, I just see the image. Now I see it.
Good. So this is the first screen that we see when we launch our task capture. So this is the setting option. This is the capturing option. And here we have all the settings available for before we start for capturing our process. So first is the hotkey. As the name says, we can give simple hotkeys for these three actions. First is pause or resume. So by default, we'll have F10, but we can give any other hotkey as per our need. Okay, like Shift F or anything, right? Now for stop capturing, we have F9, focus capturing window. So these are the three options that are currently available, and we can give the shortkeys to quickly access these. Next is the capturing mode. We have right now here available two capturing mode. First is the detailed one, while this one is the high level. That is the default setting that we will get. As the name says, high level means we can set up a specific configuration in order to build the document. Mainly this is used when we are focusing on mainly on the documentation, where we can limit our capturing mode to a few events only. Like, so whenever we select this high level, we'll get this another option, which says automatic process capture. And we have two options: capture on mouse click only or capture with the keyboard only. When we select capture on mouse click only, there is nothing actually that will come. But when we will have capture with keyboard only, we have a shortcut available to start the capturing. So again, same as like the hotkeys, we can give the capture action short combination here as well. Okay. On capture on mouse click, we just have one option here available, which we select, which says do not capture when we press this short this particular action keystroke. So like, for example, by default, we have control, we have other options as well available. So it's up to us, whatever settings we want to do. In detailed one as we already discussed, this one is mainly when we are focusing, we are using the task capture for development purpose. So the selectors will be captured in detail, and in later stage, we can use this workflow to convert it into Studio or Studio X skeleton. That will give the developers, solution architects a very good start for their solution development. Okay. Moving on, we have the last option, which says selector configuration. I think we already discussed this, Kristen and already discussed this. So basically these three are the capturing option. Moreover, we are seeing here some more options. Let's very quickly cover these as well. The first is the general one. As we can see, these are very general options we are seeing here. Language, theme, text size. Then we have extensions, which says yes, this is one of the very important thing before we start capturing the processes. So as we know, we require our UiPath to capture the events and the selectors from the applications, like the browser applications or the applications which involves Java. So one of the questions that we it was there in the chat for the Citrix one. So there is also one extension available for Citrix or the remote machines, So just make sure that the right extensions are installed. Last is the branding. So mainly this branding, I think we can we'll have a discussion when we'll discuss how we can customize our workflows. So I'll take up this particular branding in the later stage. Okay, so that was the setting part. Now let us start with our use case first. Use case. So we'll start with selecting the new document, and here is our first screen. So as we know, there is one main or one important thing we need to see here is to select which type, build diagram or the capture process. So we always go with capture process when the process is simple, linear, no to just one or two decisions, not more than that. If you see that your process is that straightforward, please go with capture process. Why? If you think that your process has multiple applications, first of all, lot of decision making in between, lot of communication between the applications, and large number of steps. These are the few things. If you check on your process, go with build diagram first, create the schema, and then start building one by one. Start capturing one by one for each task that you define. So it is very, very important to understand which method we should select. Okay, so now coming back to our use case, if we see our use case is very straightforward. There are two applications, no decision that is involved, plus it's a linear process, very simple process, copy, paste, get the information and save it in the Excel. So it is a very good example for capture the process, okay, for this method. Now, let me check. Yes. So here is the web application or website is available. And on the other hand, this is the Excel that we are going to use in our demo. So now let's get started. We'll click on capture process. It will take few moments to prepare and launch the recorder. And here we are, we have our recorder ready. So at this moment, we should be ready with our applications, whatever application that is involved in your process. So I have my Excel as well as my web application ready. Okay. And by the way, we are doing the capturing with the default settings. Okay, I haven't done any changes. So we'll start with start capture, and our capturing recorder is ready. Okay, so whatever action I'm going to do is going to capture here. So I just click on the Excel. The first action has been captured in the recorder. So let me give the title right now. We can give the title and the description right now while we are performing, or we can simply capture everything, and later stage we can customize our flow and the screens and everything. Okay, so I am going to do a little bit right now, and maybe later we will go through and beautify our process flow here. So first is, like, let's say open Excel, open the Excel file total list. Okay, so I'm going to here copy. So parallelly it was capturing everything. Even I clicked twice, it captured that as well. Okay, so it is going to take everything here. So we have July. I'll go back, select July, get unicorn name. This is my unicorn name. So I'm going to copy, go back, paste. And this is we need to do for every data. So that's enough, I guess, for now. I'll save and stop. So as soon as I stop, you can see here, my flow is ready. Okay. Now, as soon as we finish with our recording, we'll get this screen which says detect and merge the same screen action. So task capture has this ability to automatically identify the same screens, and according to capture these screens, we are doing some way or another with the same actions. So this feature gives us the option to merge also all those screens. So either we can detect it and go through it right now. It will not immediately merge anyways. It will give us the option to go through them and take the decision, of course. But there are two ways of, again, performing this action right now, by going to detect, or we can go to edit and detect the same screen actions. right? So there are two ways. So for now, since we need to explore a little more here, I'll just close and let's see what we have with us. So we can zoom in here. Okay. Our first screen is this one where we are into Unicorn Excel. And the thing that you should note here, the by default name that is coming is, please, check this. Here, when we were on the Excel sheet, it has taken the name of the Excel. Here, I was doing the Alt tab to go to the next screen. It has given automatically, the task switching as a heading. Then when I was in the application, it has given me by default the name of the application. So in this way, the capture is the smart enough to give you a good flow skeleton, not only the skeleton but also very small things like this sequence names as well, right? So let's go and check what we have right now. First is Unicorn name. So we have here Unicorn name Excel, and we are having here all the actions, even a small click that we done has been captured, right? So what we need to do, again, the second best practice we need to take care is customize our process flow that we have captured. So like here, we see it captured everything. So what we need to filter out some things and make it as per our requirements, right? So I'm going to do it for a couple of sequences. So like, for example, this one was open the Excel. Okay, so I don't require this, I'll delete. Second is click or copy. Copy the name, okay? And this is the name already highlighted, okay? Now, the branding thing that we discussed, coming back to that point now. When we are customizing our screens, our screen, or we can say image that we have captured, there are few things available. There are few highlighters available that we can use. One of them is this rectangle. This is basically to highlight as we are highlighting here, right? Then we have arrows to highlight some specific things if we want. Then we have numbers. We can also in the same screen provide the numbers that one, we need to select this, two, we need to do this. So we can provide the sequencing as well at the same screen if you want. Right. Then we have the highlighters. If you want to highlight anything, we can do that simply by highlighting the section. Okay. Then we have text. So if we want to add a text, we can do that simply. Then we have yes, very good one, which is the blur. This is very useful feature or the option that we give while we are customizing our captured process, that is hiding the sensitive information. So this leads to best practice number 3, which is sharing the sensitive information. We need to always keep in mind when we are preparing the PDD, the sensitivity of the data, and whenever required, when we see that, especially in the finance and accounting, we need to take this into account, that do not share the sensitive information and use the blur option here that is available, right? So these are few options, and very useful option, I must say, available while we are customizing our capture process. Moreover, we have other option as well. If we go to the 3 dots here, we have copy image. If we want this image to be used somewhere else, or for any further uses, we can use this option. We can replace as well this image from a pre-captured image, or we need to again take a screenshot, we can do that, or we have a basic option of deleting the image as well, right? So let's go back to our main demo. So we are done with our two things, that is open the Excel, then we have copying the name. Now we don't need the rest of them, so I'm deleting the rest of the captured images. Now switch task switching, I think this is not required, so I'm going to delete it. But before that, let me also go through few things here. So if we right click on the box we are seeing here, so what is this box? First of all, this box is represented as a sequence. A sequence means the related task, on the same screen, if we do multiple actions. So the related task on the same screens are clubbed together in a sequence, right? So for example, as we know here in Excel, we open the Excel, we copy the name. So these are the related tasks to this Excel, which is combined into the sequence, right? Similarly, in further screens, we'll see in the web application, whatever we did has been clubbed into this sequence. Okay, so this is a sequence. So first option, that if we right click on the captured or the created task, we will get change type. We can change the type to the other options available, which are task, transaction, and call activity. We also have other options like message and timers or errors. We have third option available as added properties. So we can make our process, we can make our diagram little fancy by filling up the colors, outlines, font colors, and also applying the same styling to the same elements, right? Then we have capture more actions. As the name says, if we select this, our recorder will again be launched and we can capture more steps in the same sequence. And then we have some basic actions as well available. Okay, so this are the other features that are available. So I don't require this. I'll remove the task switching and straight away go to this the next task that we perform. Okay, so I go to the preparing capturing environment, it will launch my recorder. But for now, I don't need, so I'll go back to the application and go to the details that has been captured. Okay, so here we can see the first is to select the name or enter the name. I would simply say open website. Okay, I'm skipping the description for now, and then I'll say enter the name. Okay, that's it. I'll delete. I don't require this one, as well as I may not also require this. And similarly, we will go through each sequence to check and customize our workflow as per our need. Okay, so check the birth month. And then we have open down the sequence. Okay, so again, in the same window, we clicked on the drop down, but the capture took the drop down as a separate window. And now what we need to do is we need to merge both of them. And it's very easy. Either we can simply cut, go back, and paste it here simply. We can do in this way. Or there is also one option called merge. We will also see that, but for now it's very simple. So I'll go with simple cut and paste. Okay. Select the month. Now I don't want this. I'll delete. And next is, okay, I can also merge both of them, right? So what I can do is I can simply shift, select all, cut, go back, and merge everything. So it's very easy, as we can see. And if we want to rearrange the sequence, we can simply drag, right? Like this. Open drop down, select the month, then we can say we are click on generate name. We can copy the name simply. We can take the highlighter to the only that portion, delete which is not required, not required. So this section is also ready, and our final action is to paste. So I'll go here, save it, simply Control V. So I'll say paste the unicorn. That is a description actually. Paste the unicorn name. And finally, we are saving. Okay, so I hope you get the idea how exactly we can use the capture very easily to create a flow, right? So now I'll end my flow by giving the last event as end. And here I can give my event the name as end. Okay. Also, we can rename our sequence name as well, simply by editing here. Okay. So like this, we can make our flow a bit fancy. So I'll not go into the, all the sequences and renaming it, but the idea was here to present how the recorder works, how we can customize our captured process, all the sequences, how we can customize our images, what are the features available to rectify the things. We have different options available to make our flow a little fancy by giving style of by filling up the color outlets. As we can see, there are multiple properties available. The another thing I want to here highlight is we can also use the swim lane here to make our workflow look a bit professional, and I have already prepared that for you. So let me show you the use case one that I have already prepared for you, which is here. So this is exactly the same use case, which I captured, and using the swim lane here, I created 2 lanes here, one for the Excel, one for the website, and I categorized both of the sequences in such a way that the Excel one goes to the Excel section and the website goes to the website one. Okay, so this is the short demo on how to use the capture recording. So yeah, so I'll take a pause now to get any questions, please.
So if anybody has any questions, you can take yourself off mute, raise your hand. I know we had some questions, Devyani, but some were answered.
This is Janice. I do have a question. If you already have your diagram built, can you add the swim lanes after the fact, or do you have to know that you want swim lanes before you start?
Well, you can add the swim lanes later. The swim lane diagram, the final diagram that you saw, on that as well, I created the flow first and then add the swim lane and simply drag and drop all the actions respectively into the, their sections.
And I think we have a question from Rich. Go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, just a question about syntax. Is there a glossary of terms that we can reference so that there's a standard for example, you don't type press button, maybe click button is more appropriate, things like that?
If I get your question correctly, you want to do some settings in such a way that it is limited to only capture the process when you give some keystrokes, right?
Oh, no. When you fill out your description and title, when I first did the exercise, when we intuitively just press a button, we might mentally say press button. But when we document it in this, we probably wouldn't type press button, probably to be more specific, click the button, or when those menu flyouts, what are those called? Are those pop outs? And is a robot reading this document, or is this human, like a human can read it and follow the directions, or that makes sense?
Sorry, I'm not getting your question actually.
Can I try to answer that, Devyani?
Yes, Mukesh.
Okay, so the output of this would be 2 documents. One would be process design document, which would be read by a human. When I say human, he would be a business analyst. He would understand the document, and that would be more kind of a business related document. The other thing which this would create is a XAML file, which is more for the developer, where he can directly start the coding. Right. So the output would be both. It would be the process design document as well as the XAML file for the developer. So when the developer is getting, he will directly get the click activity. When she was typing there, so the developer would get a type into activity. Right. And I think when Devyani will export this, then that would make more sense to the answer. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I noticed that when she said look up that month, the computer, you're putting that memory in human memory as opposed to a copy, like Control C to copy into the computer memory. So how would you properly communicate that in the PDD?
It's not a final thing. You have always as an option to edit it, right? It is just giving you a template. We are not saying that this is a final version of PDD, because a lot of things would be there which from your experience, you are going to add into it, such as exceptions, right? What happens if the application is down? What happens if the browser does not open at all, right? So all those things you need to still add on top of it, right? So it is a template for you to get started and to save your time of manually copy pasting the screenshot and pasting it to the PDD.
Yes, exactly. Just to add on that, so task capture gives you a good start where as a business analyst, if you want to create a PDD, if you start with a scratch, you need to take up the screenshot, you need to give the details of that particular action that you perform. But if you use task capture, it will give you a good start. It will create the flow for you. It will capture the screens, capture the events that you are doing, and parallelly you can give the details, the description, whatever actions you are doing, and then you can export it to a PDD, whatever PDD we will discuss, like how we can export it to a PDD as well, how we can also customize our PDDs as well, and this will give you a good start as a for the PDD creation. And if you want to make any change in there, you can simply then take your template that has been created by Capture and make all the required changes as you want. Okay.
I think if that answered your question, I think Kendra has a question next.
So if you have two separate task capture files, SSP files, can you copy and paste sequences from file B into file A?
I think yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
There's a couple that came in on chat. Can we add more symbols than the basic BPMN?
No, for now. What we have in our available in our task capture tool, that are the only options that we can use. Okay, there is another question. Are you going to show how to use OCR in task capture? So there is no OCR specifically. We have like two options available, like we discussed, the recorder and the build diagram. So these are the two options available, and we are going to discuss these two only. So there is no specific.
I think
Yeah.
what they were referring to is there is the ability to extract text from the images that we do capture. So we can use the lasso and highlight a piece of text and then do the I forget what the button is, but it grabs the text from that. I might be able to show that real quick. Give me a second. Maybe we can answer another question in a while, and I'll see if I can bring something like that up.
Are there any more questions? And Gracie is saying that's what she's talking about. Yeah.
So how does task capture promote or improve teamwork between a business user and an automation developer in RPA projects?
Can you speak up a little bit?
Yeah. How does UiPath Task Capture promote or improve teamwork between a business user and a automation developer in RPA projects?
Okay, so as you can see, task capture gives you the ability to capture the process. So if we talk about in the real scenario, the task capture, we can ask the business to capture their process, right? And they can share that flow. There is an option to export this flow to the XAML files, the UiPath files. So this give both of them a good, collaboration. They can collaborate in between, and the developer will get a good start to create, he will get the schema to get started with the automation solution. And for the with the help of the task capture, this will actually accelerate the process of RPA automation solution. So this is the main benefit here. We'll see. I don't know, Christian, if you want to add something on top of that.
Nope, 100% agree. The biggest thing is the collaboration effort. So, we have the business users using the tool. And it also promotes business users getting more familiar with RPA. That I think is a really big benefit, because they're using the tool that the developers are also familiar with using. And so that idea of both of us using the same tool kind of helps shorten that distance between, or the knowledge gap rather, between a business user and an RPA developer. So I think that collaboration, as well as both being able to understand and use the same tool, really promotes that collaboration and concises with the business and the COE members.
Yes.
And then I can, if that answers your question, I can real quick show the OCR. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Bear with me for 1 second. Okay, so you guys see Task Capture. You see that I have this screenshot here inside of Task Capture. So let's say, for example, maybe for like the process description, let's say that I wanted this whole block of text here from this screenshot. What we can do is we can use this grab text menu item. And if we click on the grab text menu item, what it's going to do is it's going to turn the mouse into basically a lasso or a cursor. And so what we can do is we can then group around the piece of text that we're looking to recognize. And then you'll notice this recognize button. And so then you'll see that the text was copied to the clipboard. So now if I go ahead and paste, what you can see is it took the text directly from the screenshot, and then it recognized it. So then it copied it to my clipboard to be able to use. So it's really beneficial if there's specific text on the screen in the capture itself that you want to add to the description or to the title. But all we have to do that is to use this grab text button, lasso around the text, and then press the recognize button, and it'll copy it to the clipboard.
So there's a question that came in, Christian. Can it capture some actions on desktop and some in Citrus environment if process uses application on the desktop and another application in VDI Citrus?
Yeah, it might get weird with VDIs. So because because it's not installed on the same system in which it's running on. So for example, desktop A is running VDI 1. Task Capture is installed on desktop A. It's not installed on VDI 1. So I'd have to actually test that out. My guess is that it wouldn't probably play nicely because the installation isn't actually on there. So I don't know that the OCR engine that's running would be able to recognize text. But that's a really great question. I'd have to take that away and maybe try that out and see if how that works out. Great question. But
Another
my
question
guess would be no.
is which OCR is used here? What is the accuracy of it?
Again, that I'd have to go back and get for you. I'm almost 100% certain that it's UiPath OCR because it's built into the tool and we don't have an option to change the OCR engine. So my guess is that it's just using the UiPath OCR. And usually it's pretty accurate. I find it as accurate as using, say, for example, if you used OneNote before, and inside of OneNote, you know how you can copy a picture and then say copy text from the picture. I find it about as accurate as that. But I believe, like I mentioned, I believe it's using the UiPath OCR engine.
Okay, thank you, Christian. And we have another raised hand. Mahan Tapa, if you want to ask a question.
Yeah, even if you have multiple teams requirements, so we need to integrate with the different ticketing systems and some different tools, right? That conditions we need to do the different teams tab capturing, then we can merge into the single document, or how it is?
Yes, it all depends on the scenario that you come across, right? If you can divide your process into multiple phases, that's a different thing. But if you see that no, it's the same process, and I'm covering here how which mode you should use. Go with build diagram first, create your flow first, and then start capturing one by one each task. But if you see that your process is quite big and complex, try to break it into multiple phases and go and cover each phase one by one.
Okay. Okay, if some cases we need to involve the developer to identify the flexibilities, that time before concluding the flexibility, we need to go with the process capturing, or once we confirm the flexibility, then only we'll go with the process capturing method.
Well, I would say first check the feasibility. Whenever we initiate a process, always do the initial assessment and always involve solution architect before we start with PDD creation. Never go with the PDD creation before having the feasibility study.
Okay, great, thank you. Yeah.
And then another question is task capture used to create solution user guide.
Used to create solution user guide. Can we have?
I would say technically maybe you could create it if you were using to create a flow chart or something like that, and you had a guide. But if you just wanted to create like a flow chart, you could use it as a diagramming tool. But I believe the primary use is for documenting as is processes. So it's more for creating PDDs.
Agree.
And Kendra, did you have another question? Anybody else? I think Rich has a question.
I tried going through the practice sessions, and even though there's like a very, it looks like easy process, but it took probably 5 times as long to document that process as it is to do the process. Do you have any best tips that you've learned over the course of doing this many times of how to speed this up? Because it was really painful at first.
I can chime in on that a little bit. So for me personally, I find it's best to add your action titles and descriptions as you're going through the process itself. That way you don't have to come back and do a lot of editing in the final output of the capture. It's also really beneficial to set up in the settings those hotkeys so that you can kind of not have to worry about the mouse, but more navigate with your keyboard to kind of pause and do all the things like that, because often you're going to be pausing, adding action titles and descriptions. So I find that it's easier and quicker when we do it that way. That's just some of my personal tips. Devyani, I'm not sure if you have some of your own.
Yes, I agree, 100% agree with you, Christian. And moreover, if the process is having a lot of steps and decision, please go with the build diagram first and start capturing one by one each task specifically. That will really accelerate your capturing process. Go with build diagram.
Yep, piecemeal it. So basically build out that diagram flow and then kind of chunk it up, and each one you can do the individual capture.
Thank you.
Okay, and I got a couple more questions on chat. Does task mining include task capture, or are they two completely independent things?
So task mining is kind of like the evolution of task capture. Task capture is more human driven than task mining. Task mining, I'll share a link in the chat that details a really good breakdown of the differences between task capture, assisted task mining, non-assisted task mining, and process mining. So I'll share that link in the chat, and I think that'll help answer a lot, because I noticed a couple folks had that question, and I think this document that UiPath provides does a good job of detailing those differences explicitly. So let me go ahead
That'd
and
be
put that
great,
in the
Christian.
chat.
Thanks. And then Praharash Shah, do you want to ask your question? We can't hear you.
Hello.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So, how does UiPath Task Capture handle errors in complex situations in a process?
Okay. So in case of errors, task capture simply captures all the events, as you know. So if you want to define the error handling in your process, go with the build diagram. There are events where using these events, you can create that this portion may have the errors, and you can explicitly define the error handling in your flowcharts. So you have there the option available to define the errors in the diagram itself. Okay, so there is not an explicit way to capture the errors, or maybe if the errors are happening during the process, you can capture at that moment. That's a different thing. But if you want specifically go into the detail and highlight these are the errors that will happen in the process flow, explicitly define in your flowcharts.
Thank you. Okay, I think we have one more question for today. It appears the person performing task capture, our business subject matter expert, is the one who will need to do the edits, titles, lasso, merge, screen exit, etc. They are usually first-time users. Can I, as the business analyst, come back after it is saved or published and make these changes?
Absolutely, yes. Yes. We can take, and usually I also used to do, I ask my business team to capture their process and share it back to save those files as .ssp. That's the extension of the task capture file, and share that .ssp file back to my business analyst, where my business analyst take up the things, make the changes, and create finally the detail. So yes.
Yep, absolutely agreed. Yep, it's very easy as long as we save it. That's the key piece. Save it as an
Yes.
extension that can be opened inside of Task Capture, that .spp or SSP, whatever it is. But yep, super easy to edit.
Okay, and did you find that link, Kristen?
Yeah, I put it in the chat. Oh, I might have direct messaged it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't see it in the chat, so I just want to make sure everybody has access to that.
Yep, absolutely. Right here.
Awesome. Okay.
Hi, this is Smita. I have a question to Kristen. The steps that you showed to capture text, I can't see on mine. I have 2022 version of Task Capture, and I'm not able to see the step to capture text.
So again, you have to click inside the action itself. So not from the diagram. So let's say, for example, here I can quickly share again, maybe. So bear with me for 1 second. So if you notice from here, what I had to do was I had to go to the action itself, and then from the action itself, inside the sequence, that's where I have the option up here for grab text. So make sure that you're navigating to the action inside the sequence itself, and then from there you should be able to.
Okay, okay, sounds good. And I have one more thing. So if you go to settings, in home and settings, and under extensions, so you see something called Citrix. Does that mean we can capture the screenshots from virtual machine? Is that what?
Yes, yes, I forgot about that extension. So to answer, same with the VMware Horizon. So that should allow for interaction with those particular VDI.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yeah, similarly, we have Microsoft Desktop, remote desktop extension as well. So if you are going to, you are, targeting to capture the screens or the process targeting the remote machines, please make sure that the extensions, correct extensions are installed.
Does this apply for AWS workspaces as well? I mean, that's also Amazon's virtual desktop. I didn't see that in the extensions. Is that something you need to download? Does it support it?
It might
Um,
not be supported since it's not. I didn't notice it in the extensions. You would have to trial and error and see if that works. But my guess is that since it's not in the extensions, it's probably not directly supported.
Got it. Thanks.
yes.
Okay. I think that's the last of our questions for today. If anybody has any more questions, just remember to put them on the forum, and we'll answer them as we can. So I just want to thank Kristen, Devyani, and the rest of the team today for this session. Don't forget to register for the next session, which is on Wednesday. And don't forget to do your self-study this week. Appreciate everybody attending, and we will close it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody. Be well.
Thank you.